HTTP requests are the basis of the internet. Every time I open a new tab and I go to a website, I basically send an HTTP request to the server in which it gives me data which I render in my browser. Now, HTTP requests, how they were made a few years ago, were extremely insecure. And so they made HTTPS, which is a secure version of HTTP as it's encrypted. But sometimes you only want specific people to be able to access your server. So in that case, we use authentication. Now, N8N has built-in authentication for a bunch of different apps, but today we're going to be focusing on the general authentication. So the first and most basic authentication is the Basic Auth. Haha, it's in the name. Now, how this works is you have a username and password, and it will append the username and the password, and then it will turn it into a base 44 encoding. Very important to understand encoding and encryption. Encryption has a key, encoding doesn't. So anybody can decode your key. So don't use basic auth in normal HTTP because it can be seen by anyone. So you should always use it on HTTPS. Then there is the barrier auth, which is an API key. You give it a key, and if the key is correct, you can it puts it in the authorization header. Each auth does put it in the authorization header. Basic auth also puts it in the authorization header. And so you basically put a token in, which is predefined, and if the token is correct, then you will continue to the server doing whatever. Custom auth, you create your own custom authentication using JSON. For that, you have to write a specific script in your web server, which does match up with your custom authentication. Digest is a more secure version of the basic auth. So it takes in the same parameters, user and password, but it does it in a more secure way. Then we have the header auth, which takes in the name of your header. So it puts a value in the header, certain value in the header with a specific name. And then the website checks for the header and then checks the value of that header. And if the header is correct, then you are able to continue with your request. Then you have the OAuth. OAuth 1 is the legacy version, so don't use it. Use OAuth 2 instead, but this is an API. You have a secret, you have a key. So Google uses OAuth, authorization URL, and access token URL with the request token URL. This is just different in hash functions. Simple. Then, so the consumer secret is a secret key. The consumer key is basically a user ID. This is a user secret. So this is This you should keep to yourself. This you can share as so. It's basic OAuth, but not recommended. OAuth 2 is the recommended, as it is a more secure version, has the same parameters. It's more software. In the software, it's much more secure. Then query auth, which is generally not used, as header auth is better considered mostly, but it's the exact same as header auth, just slightly different on the software side. Header auth is preferred. And so those are the basic authentication techniques. Uh, it is important to know how these work in order to be able to understand the web better. So now every time you get a request, an API, you are basically sending a header, and then the website reads the header and then completes the auth, and you get the value you want. Uh, as always, thanks for watching, and bye bye.